Ferrari find positives in the Imola Grand Prix as both drivers make brilliant recovery drives after a poor qualifying performance, finishing P4 and P6 for Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc respectively. But can they take positives into the Monaco Grand Prix and potentially see one of their drivers on the podium, maybe even on pole position in qualifying? Now that's something that I would really like to discuss as we head towards the Monaco Grand Prix. Is have Ferrari really found some pace? Now, if we look at their performance in the race, obviously both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton were caught behind Lance Stroll, I think it was, for Charles Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton was behind Kimi Antonelli, which ultimately does mean that the pace at the Imola Grand Prix was very distorted. But when both drivers were able to get into clean air, there was some unbelievable pace on the table for the Ferrari car. And as Lewis Hamilton said post-race, if they could qualify better, they could have been in the hunt for the race win yesterday. Now, are they as quick as the McLarens? No. Are they as quick as the Red Bulls? Again, no. But what they can do is put themselves in a position where they can put themselves on alternate strategies and put themselves in that conversation of being on those top 3 steps of the finishing order, and that's something which we need to see. Now, obviously, it was great to see vintage Lewis Hamilton yesterday, in my opinion, and he made some great overtakes over the likes of Kimi Antonelli, the likes of Isaac Hadjar, and obviously then getting past Alex Albon and Charles Leclerc to end up finishing in P4. Now, a lot of people won't be too pleased on the way that Hamilton got past Alex Albon, as it was a result of Charles Leclerc pushing him into the gravel, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. But the Ferraris did have pace, and that has got to be a positive heading into the next few races. With obviously Monaco coming up, and then I think it's the Spanish Grand Prix where we have that massive technical directive heading our way, which will completely change, in many people's opinion, the context of this championship that we're looking at right now. And will it be McLaren leading the way? Will it be Red Bull? Will it then turn to Mercedes or Ferrari? We just don't know right now. Now, obviously, Aston Martin have made a massive jump in the Imola Grand Prix, which obviously was as a result of the Ferraris failing to get out of Q2 and a couple of other drivers failing to put in decent performances. You look at the likes of Colapinto, Pierre Gasly wasn't quite of the same sort of standing as he has been in recent weeks. But it's one of those for me where you certainly saw a big jump from Aston Martin. Now, are we going to see a similar sort of jump from Ferrari when we move into that Spanish Grand Prix? I'm not entirely sure. But as we head towards as we head towards Monaco, there's a lot of talking points going on from that Ferrari side of things based on the pace that we saw, because they were very much, had they qualified P1, P2, maybe even P3, they would have been in the fight for the win, essentially. And obviously, yes, Max Verstappen had a brilliant race. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris had brilliant races to finish on the podium. But if one of them's in P1, P2, after going long on a stint, when that first safety car comes out, virtual safety car, then they had the pace to be able to maintain it, in my opinion. We saw Lewis Hamilton closing in on Oscar Piastri late on in the race. Obviously, if the safety car had been 2 less laps, Lewis Hamilton would have ended up on the podium. And obviously, that would have been a huge positive for Ferrari at their first home race of the season, and the home race that is closest to Maranello, to have seen one of their drivers on the podium. Obviously, we've only seen Charles Leclerc on a race podium. We've seen Lewis Hamilton on 2 sprint race podiums so far this season. And obviously, Lewis Hamilton, the only Ferrari driver to take any sort of victory or any sort of pole position so far this season, up against the quali specialist that is Charles Leclerc, as many people do like to tell everybody. And I think if Ferrari find this pace and find themselves back in the hunt, there is still a chance they can win the Constructors. There is the Constructors is always the possibility, because you've got 2 point scorers, and obviously if you finish both ahead of the drivers, you pick up a decent points haul over them. Now, the drivers' standings is the one that's a little bit difficult. I believe that both Hamilton and Leclerc are now nearly about 100 points behind Oscar Piastri, which is obviously a 4-race win to DNF split. Now, obviously, there's still a long way to go. I think we're only on round 8 as we head towards Monaco, but that's a big gap to sort of gain. Obviously, I think a win, 7 points between a win and P2? So you're looking at what? You've got to win 10 races at minimum. to sort of get within the hunt if they're finishing second. So there's a lot of conversations to be had and a lot of sort of movement within that sort of Ferrari team. And obviously there is talks that they are chasing after some aerodynamicists that are currently at McLaren. Obviously we've seen McLaren go from the back to the front over the course of recent years, whereas the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes haven't been able to make that jump to the front of the pack, which has been quite disappointing. But I think it's because McLaren have made huge shake-ups over the course of the last few years as it didn't quite go to plan. And Ferrari haven't really had that huge shake-up yet, but they're on the run to one with the changes that they've made over the course of the last 12 months with Fred Vasseur in charge, bringing in Lewis Hamilton, bringing in the likes of Loic Serra. And the importance is going to be on that engine and making sure that the car is competitive for 2026. But can they challenge for the titles this year? Probably not. But can they be competing for race victories by the end of this season? Absolutely. And I really do hope that both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton pick up multiple victories this season. We obviously saw last year, I think was it 5 drivers pick up multiple race wins across the course of the season with Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and I think Carlos Sainz won 2 races as well. So obviously you've got those conversations going on about those drivers picking up multiple race wins. So are we going to see that again this season in a battle that is rumoured to be closer than it was last season, although I don't necessarily believe it is. I think we're in the same sort of boat where you've got 2 teams that are sort of consistently on the money. You've got 2 teams then that are just sitting a little bit far behind when it comes to the pace delta and not necessarily battling for race wins yet. But we know that can change quickly, as we saw last year with Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton picked up victory in Silverstone and Spa. Both deserved victories as well, but then there wasn't another sort of battle for a win from the Mercedes until obviously, what was it, Las Vegas? Yes, Russell won in Austria, but that was because Verstappen and Norris collided. It wasn't a race win that he earned on merit, let's say. So it's one of those for me where it's going to be a very, very interesting end to the season. And Ferrari have some unbelievable opportunities over the course of the next, 14, 15 rounds to be able to push themselves to win races, pick up podiums, and that is what we're going to have to see over the course of the next few months. Now, are we going to see it? I'm not sure. What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, you turn on the notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest content. Obviously, over the course of the next few days, there will be videos regarding, obviously, a preview to Monaco, going through my predictions that I did for the Imola Grand Prix, and then obviously predicting the race for Monaco, predicting qualifying and everything like that. So make sure, if you haven't done so already, you've hit that subscribe button, you've turned on the notification bell, you've hit the like button to stay tuned, and you've let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.